Hi, everybody. I'm Bernie Gallerani, and today we're going to be doing a deep dive into the topic that every entrepreneur faces, but few will actually master: mindset and productivity. If you're building a business and you're leading a team or even trying to level up to impact, you are going to love this episode. This is all about not only building a business and the mindset needed in that process, but how do you prevent burnout? That's the real question, and that's what we're going to dive into today. Guys, this is really interesting because entrepreneurship is 80% mental and 20% tactical. Your mindset as a founder will make or break your entire business more than your business plan ever will. What goes on up here is actually the key. You write out the business plan, that's one thing, but what actually happens inside of your head and how you process it is actually what makes the difference. Most founders feel like they're faking it at some point, right? They're going, man, I'm positive, I'm enthusiastic, and that's really great. You have to have that, but what's really interesting is they're faking it, right, until they're making it. Have you ever heard of that one? So what they're doing is they're faking it, and at some point they learn to just normalize doubt, because doubt really creeps into almost every entrepreneurial's mind. But what you have to do is you have to keep moving forward, right? And so what happens is when you see some really successful people, and I've got asked this question too from friends of mine or people that have watched me build businesses, and they'll say, well, do you ever get to a point where you're uncomfortable or that where you feel like, maybe you're taking a bigger risk? And the answer to that is yes. And every entrepreneur deals with that. So what we're going to talk about today is like, why do they keep moving forward, and how can you be helped, maybe through this video, is to say, hey, listen, if this is normal, if this is actually what people deal with and I'm feeling this way, I'm feeling a little down on myself, or I'm feeling like I have some challenges, then just stay tuned, because I want you to know it's really something very common that entrepreneurs go through. I was having a conversation with one of the people that works inside of my company, one of these great entrepreneurs that works with us, and he was having a tough few weeks and down a little bit on himself. And I pulled him aside this morning, and we had a nice little conversation for about 30 minutes. And I told him, I said, hey, listen, this is what I want to tell you, man. What you're going through right now is very common. And he looked at me like, really? I'm like, absolutely. It's so common to go through struggles like this. And what we have to all understand is that when you're growing as a person, when you're taking a leap outside of what you're comfortable with, you're going to feel a little bit of this. So don't beat yourself up. You have to stay persistent on the plan. And we're going to get into that a little bit more here in a minute. But what I'm going to ask that you do is, if you're feeling overwhelmed, you might be very confident around other people. People might think you got it all figured out, but there's a storm brewing inside of you. There's frustration, there's anger. You don't know where to go. You don't know how to do it. And you're feeling, frankly, just defeated. And I just want to say that is all very normal stuff. So don't allow that to hold you back, but be very positive in moving forward that you're dealing with something that all entrepreneurs are dealing with. So you must know a little bit about knowing how to pivot. You got to pivot in a manner to know when to pivot, I should say, and not just persist. Flexibility, being flexible, is actually your superpower. It's not your weakness. So you can't what do they say there? You're kind of like a tree, it bends, but it doesn't break. That's a little bit of the mental conditioning that you have to actually put yourself under. You have to understand that not everything's going to work out the way you want it to work out. It never does work out that way. There's a storm brewing, you're frustrated, you're angry, but you keep your eye on the ball because there's a dream. And that dream has to be powerful to overcome all those mental challenges that you have. You're no different than like a professional athlete, right? They train their bodies. Founders must train their minds. They must practice, they must visualize, and have self-talk to themselves. You know what's great about being an entrepreneur is that most people aren't. And the hard part for being an entrepreneur is that you don't have a lot of friends that have to deal with all of this. It's almost like you're on an island. There's a few people out there that'll take on entrepreneurship, but most people don't. So what we have to work on is our daily mindset. What are we doing to encourage ourselves? You might be looking for an encouraging group, and I'm sure there's people out there that are doing that for you. And I'm in many masterminds and many people that I talk to that help me focus mentally. But you're still on an island by yourself because most people do not have entrepreneurial direction. So how do you do it? What are you doing to keep your emotional patterns in line? How do you stay consistent, right? One of the things I want to suggest to you is consider hiring a business coach. One of the greatest things that I ever did was hire the Mike Ferry organization. That relationship for the last 20 years has been very pivotal in building an amazing business, all through the advice of this organization and the coaches. I've had many coaches within that organization, I'm guessing maybe 5, but you have to build a trusted circle of advisors around you to keep this strong. Without having your friends or your mastermind group or a coach or somebody that's helping you in that process, you're on an island by yourself. How do you survive? And so you survive through other people who think like you. So don't be afraid to hire a coach. I'm going to tell you, it was absolutely a difference maker in my life. And if you can put yourself around other people that think like you, they're out there. There's many of them out there. They're not the majority, they're the minority, but you can find them, and they're looking for people like you who think like you, because we are all a little bit different on how we think. Entrepreneurs are. So just remember, you're not alone, but you're not among the majority either. So you've got to seek out those people. Now, you must schedule time to disconnect from your business. So remember, we're talking about burnout here, building a business, adding good people to share our frustrations with, help us get over the hump. But you also have to schedule time that you leave your business. You cannot be in your business 24/7 and every single day have a solid mind. Your brain has to rest. You must shut your phones off. You must go home and when you go home, I should say, you must go home and turn it all off and be with your family. If you have a family, your family doesn't want you to be on full time, right? So burnout in business, and how do we avoid it? Because let me tell you, there isn't a time, I think, in anything that I've done over the 20 plus years that many times I caused myself to have some level of emotional or physical burnout, right? And burnout isn't caused by just working hard. It's really caused by working without boundaries and allowing yourself to recover. And one of my coaches said to me one day, and I'll never forget this, I was burning the candle at both ends, building the business, and she asked me a really interesting question. And she says, well, do you take your cell phone in your home with your family? Well, of course I do. Who doesn't? And so I told her, I said, well, yeah, I do, but how do you shut off the phone from ringing when people want to get a hold of you? She says, Bernie, what you do is you get 2 cell phones. I'm like, okay, tell me more about that. And she says, well, what happens is you have a work phone and you have a personal phone. So you give all of your friends and people that you want your personal number, and you give all your business people your other number. And so when you leave your phone in your car and you go into your home with your family, then you deserve, and especially the world that I lived in real estate, you deserve to have time off. The question is I have for all of us is, are you taking time off? Are you leaving the business alone? Are you leaving the phone in your car? Are you going in and being present with your family? Because if you're not, then what happens is you're always in work mode. And I'm going to tell you what happens. It's not good for your family. It's not good for your spouse. And it's even worse for you, because you're the rainmaker here. You're the person who creates the business to grow. And if you're not feeling 100% every day because you're dealing with massive conversations and frustrations within the business, and you take that into your personal life, that can be really detrimental, not only to your family, even more so detrimental to your business. So please, please, please try to figure a way to separate that, because that is what causes burnout to happen even faster. Some of the things that we deal with when we deal with kind of fatigue or tiredness in this process of just feeling overwhelmed is we have a lack of control over our time, right? Because everything is our time if we don't separate it, and it drains our energy. It totally drains our energy. If you're a person who is a solopreneur, right? So you're a person who, you're the one-man show, right? You get in your vehicle, you go to work, you're the only person, you're turning the lights on, you're turning the lights on in the morning, making your own copies in the copy machines, you're answering your phones. Oh my gosh, what a poor lifestyle that is. Because what happens is then you go to work and you're the only person. Do you know that burnout happens when you're that solopreneur, when you're the only person, right? And what happens is it starts affecting your sleep, how you eat, everything about your health. And that wears you out faster than anything you could do. Because at some point you have to feel like you're building something. And if you're maintaining it all, and you're not taking control of leveraging that through other people, which we'll talk about here in a minute, then you're going to burn out very quickly, quicker than you want to or want to even admit to. Understanding that you are running at a high level, you should treat your body and your mind like a professional athlete. Listen, I love sports like anybody else, but to watch a professional athlete perform is astonishing to me. I watch football or baseball or some of these other sports, and you look at the skill level, basketball players, you look at the skill level, and reading books about these people. One is called Winning, Grover, who is the guy that used to train Michael Jordan and Kobe Bryant, and talk about the amount of commitment that these athletes put into their craft, right? You have to be able to train your mind and your body like that. And when you eat right and you sleep right and you train right and you work on your business right, what that does is that helps prevent burnout. I can tell you this as a coach who coaches people in my side of my company. I don't coach outside of my company, but within my company. When I coach within my company, I can tell you, I see more people burning out because they don't operate properly. They're burning out because they aren't taking care of themselves. They're not eating right. They're not physically taking care of themselves, meaning they're not going to the gym. They're not working on their brain. They're not educating themselves. You really have to approach this business just like you're a professional athlete. And I learned that 20 years ago when I met somebody who talked about, how do you look at your business? Is it a job or is something that you have to be a high performer in? And so when I really kind of looked at what he was saying and really studied what this meant, it's everything. It's your energy level, it's your enthusiasm, it's your excitement, and all of that has to be at a peak level. The question is, what are you doing right now to keep it at a peak level? Are you feeling burned out? Are you getting enough sleep? Are you eating properly? Are you in a routine? Just some things to think about, because if you're going to be in business as an entrepreneur or a solopreneur, these are all things that have to happen in order to have longevity so burnout doesn't happen. And I can tell you, if you do get to a burnout where you're kind of lost and frustrated and you just want out, go back and look at some of the way that you behave on your daily routines and ask yourself, if I trained my brain, if I worked on my health and my fitness, and I stayed more committed to the things that keep my mind strong, would I be feeling this way? It's a really good question to ask yourself, and it's something that I would ask you to consider because it's probably that and nothing more. Something that I actually tried to do just so I wouldn't reach those burnout things is take a break. Take like a mental break, 10, 15 minutes, every 90 minutes to 2 hours. Every 90 minutes to 2 hours, step away from your job. Step away from the work that you do every single day and go read something positive. Go for a walk around a park or around your building, right? Go sit in your car and listen to positive music. Sit in your office and listen to positive music, whatever it is. Sometimes I say go sit in your car or go walk around the building, because if you stay in your office, someone knocks on your door and wants to talk to you about something. That's not what we're talking about. It's escaping the daily conversation for 10 or 15 minutes and allowing you to take a deep breath, clear your brain. I would always either go read a book, go for a walk, watch a YouTube video that was inspiring, anything I could to try to get my mind back in, because the work we do is difficult. It's mentally challenging. And so if you're one of those people that's dealing with a little burnout, start taking a mindset break every 90 minutes to 2 hours. You're going to find that it is very helpful if you just step away, allow yourself to take a deep breath, focus on why you're doing this business, and then get back to work. And before you know it, you'll realize that you'll start feeling better and that your day will go by much faster and you'll have accomplished a lot more at your work. When you're working at a level where you're feeling burned out, you have to put in your calendar or in your daily activity a schedule recovery time. So you have to put it in, like we talk about your mindset breaks, right? You have to have a calendar that dictates or puts into place downtime. It's not optional. It's just part of the performance cycle. So it's not like you have, what can I say? Well, I think I would like to do this. Put it in your calendar and just make it a certainty. Allow yourself to take care of you. Write that one down. Allow yourself to take care of you. I was recently in some confliction with some things that are going on inside my company and had to really reflect on, how do I become better? How do I become better at the job I have to do? And so I was just chatting with somebody the other day, and it was like, hey, I got to remove myself during these hours doing this. I need to put something else in that spot where I have more energy in the morning. So is there something that you're doing that's draining you that you realize, hey, listen, this is probably not something I should be doing here because this is too important and I have to be really fresh. My mind has to be right. Can I flip my schedule a little bit? Can I do this at a later time and do this in the morning if I feel like I need more energy? So just keep that as a consideration, because just because you have to do it, there are also certain times in the day that you should do it. And there are other times in the day that you probably shouldn't do it. So is there something going on in your calendar? Can you look at your schedule now and say, gosh, I probably should put that in the morning because I have more energy, more enthusiasm, and more excitement there. And it allows me to be in a better mood. It allows me to feel like I'm getting those tasks done. And it allows me to accomplish what I really need to get accomplished, versus flipping it the other way where you get some kind of other things done, but they're not that important. And then you get to the end of the day and you're frustrated and you're angry that you have to do something because you're tired. So just consider doing the most important things first. And you have to learn, like in the process too of going through all this, you have to learn to delegate. Not every task is yours to carry. Go hire people. I've learned, I'll never forget hiring my very first assistant. Boy, that was pretty scary, right? I was only responsible for me, right? I was a solopreneur and I had to actually go hire somebody. That was a scary step. Now I've got a lot of people that work inside this company, a lot of employees and a lot of responsibilities. But I got to tell you, you can't accomplish anything really significant doing it all on your own. You've got to hire really good people and leverage out things. And you know what? You're not talented at everything. So ask yourself this question: what am I doing that I don't really want to do? And if I'm not that talented in it, should somebody else be doing it to serve our clients better? And that's something that you should consider. As a solopreneur, you have to do everything because you're getting it off the ground. But my recommendation for you is start writing down some things right now. Write down some things of all the things that you feel like you have to do. And you personally, you're the most talented in that area. Maybe it's something that you feel like you're just the most qualified person to get the result you're looking for. But there's also a lot of other things that you're doing. Write those things down and just say, hey, listen, I want to eventually find someone to do these other things, right? And I don't know what your businesses are because I'm talking to a lot of entrepreneurs. But for me, it's like, who's doing the paperwork? Who's making the copies? Who's making those phone calls that I don't have to make? Who's giving the information that needs to be given out, but it doesn't have to be given out by me? Leveraging all of these opportunities to really great people who are more specialized in those particular areas. Just something to think about. Set up boundary systems, end of day kind of rituals, right? Completely free of the phone on the weekends. And so don't let yourself get trapped into being a 24/7 entrepreneur. I'm going to say this again because I know that being an entrepreneur sometimes takes 24/7. And I'm just sharing with you that it's okay if you're starting a business and you're putting in 24/7. I've talked about that on other videos. Sometimes you got to put in 6 days a week. Sometimes you got to put in 7 days a week. Sometimes you got to put in 100 hours. And when you're a solopreneur, those are pretty normal. But you can't go at that pace all the time. You cannot run at a pace that you're the only person day in and day out, year in and year out. Because what's going to happen as you try to scale this business and grow, you're going to find that burnout happens. Write down a plan of action. Look at what 1 year looks like. Look at what 2 years look like. Write a schedule and say, I'd like to have people doing this for me within 24 months or 36 months, or within 4 or 5 years, I'd like to be here and have a crew of 4 or 5 people helping me scale this business. If you don't do that, growth is almost impossible. If you don't do that, burnout is absolutely a certainty. So don't take this lightly, because you're really, as a solopreneur, which means that you're the only person, you really still have a job, right? And you're still if you're an electrician business, you're the maintenance guy on your vehicle, on your van. You're the guy driving the van. You're the one that has to go out and buy the tools. You're the one that has to go do the work. You're filling out the invoice that's sending to them to get paid. You're making the phone calls. I'm going to be there at 7 o'clock in the morning, right? And so there's a lot there. And when you're a solopreneur, it makes sense. When you're an entrepreneur, you delegate and leverage through other great qualified people. When you're a solo entrepreneur or a solopreneur, you have a job. When you're an entrepreneur, you give people a job. Does that make sense? So this is going to rub some people wrong, and I apologize if it does, but the reality to it is that's the reality to it. Sometimes when you go through this process, like, why am I even doing this? You feel, man, I got to hire people. I got to take a risk. I have to manage people. I don't like managing people, right? And so occasionally you have to have these purpose check-ins, and you have to reconnect to why you're doing this. And that's a really important one. One of the things we would do is we'd write our business plans, and then our coaches would always tell us check in with that daily, no less than every week. And so the question would be, if you're an entrepreneur or you want to be, how often are you checking in to the goals that you originally set? Like, why have you decided to do this business? What was your original goal, and why did it get you excited enough to invest in this opportunity? And I would just share with you this. What you dreamed of when you started and then the reality of what shows up are two different things. And so you have to check in with what you wrote. You have to reconnect with your why, because if not, then burnout's going to happen very, very quickly. And that's not a good thing. So always be checking in on why you decided to do this business, because you will find that when you do check in to why you wrote this plan originally, of what your dream was, it will get you excited again. But if you don't connect with that why, you can burn out very quickly. This is something that you should do every single quarter. Ask, am I energized by my work, and do I feel aligned with what I'm building? When you originally start, you have this idea, and any idea that you have that you write down on paper doesn't always, when you get in the middle of it, it seems a little different. And you're like, man, I didn't realize this and I didn't realize that. And so what I want to ask you is, every 90 days, every quarter, go in and look at that business plan and ask you, is this still my purpose? Is the way I'm doing it still the way I want to be aligned with how I see my life? Go back and revisit the idea that you had when you started. And here's what I also want to suggest to you. It's okay if it doesn't align anymore, because if you aren't in alignment with the business that you're trying to build, then you need to readjust it. And I can tell you, I have done that so many times where I actually thought something was a certain way. In my fantasy land thinking, I thought, well, this is how I want to build my business. And I get all excited and charged. And as you run through the idea and the fantasy land of the business, you hit a brick wall. And you're like, wow, that really hurts. I didn't know that wall was there. And you got to try to find a way around the wall. And you're like, well, there I'm hitting the wall again. And I'm hitting the wall again. And then you get a little bit discouraged. And here's the thing we all need to understand. That is going to happen. That's a certainty. So if you're one that says, hey, man, I just can't get over this hump. I can't get over this wall. Here's the question I might be asking you. Maybe you need to realign your goal to use a different tool to get around the wall, because you might be using the wrong tool. It's not like the wall can't be conquered, because it can be conquered. I don't even know what your wall is. But I can tell you, no matter how you're feeling about it, you need to understand that wall can be conquered if you use the right tool. And then what's on the other side of that wall could be different. It may look different, feel different than what you imagined. Remember, when you write a plan and you have an idea and you're starting off as an entrepreneur, you really kind of live in fantasy land, because you have no idea what that really looks like. Because whatever it looks like in your dream is not what it's going to look like when you actually align yourself to getting it done. So don't be afraid to go back and look at what it is you're trying to accomplish, and then ask yourself every 90 days, is what I originally aligned myself in the idea of this, will this actually work? And am I still focused and excited about getting it done this way? And do I need to make some changes within that to allow myself to grow, knock down that wall, watch it come crumbling down, and then I might have to take a different approach on the next wall. But you're always going to have a wall. Okay, so what we're going to talk about now is mastering your morning routine. So your morning routine can either set the tone for a productive day or a reactive one. And the most successful leaders, the ones that I've met, people I've read about, the most successful leaders own their morning schedule. Oh, this is so big. And I cannot tell you about the morning schedule and how challenging it is for most people. I'm going to give you some fun stories to think about here in a minute. But the morning routine is absolutely critical. And let me tell you what it is. And I believe this. I'm afraid you guys want to write some comments below and tell me what your thoughts are about it. I'd be happy to hear you. But I believe this. When that alarm clock goes off in the morning, at whatever time it goes off in the morning, that is the first honest or lie you tell yourself. I don't want to mention names, but I can say this to you. When that alarm clock goes off and you hit snooze, that little button that says, oh, I need 10 more minutes, then they have to ask yourself if it's telling you to get up. Now, I've had people say, well, I actually plan on doing it this way. And that's fair. If that works for you, then you continue to keep doing that. My belief is this. When I set that alarm clock tells me to get up. And you can have some integrity with yourself and get up out of bed and start your day, or sit there and complain in your brain. And I would question, I'd love to talk to people who do sleep studies to talk about how probably bad that is for you, because you have a mental torment. You have a process in your brain that fights it. Now, I've talked to a lot of people that have actually agreed with this, that you hit the snooze, and finally you're forced to get up. Why hit the snooze? Why not just, if you're going to hit the snooze 2 or 3 times, why not just plan to sleep another 15 minutes and then just do that and then get up, right? And I don't know what the hangup is, but remember this. I'm a believer that you tell yourself stories all day long. And if that story is what you're telling yourself and you're allowing yourself to keep maneuvering away from getting up when you're supposed to get up, that might be part of some issues that you have. Be in integrity with yourself. And start that when the alarm clock goes off. Jump out of bed. Just jump out of bed and go get your cup of coffee, start your day, read, check your emails, whatever it is that you're going to do. But go do that, right? Exercise. I think we were talking about earlier about being like an athlete, right? And so athletes, what they do is they go have a morning routine. They get up, whatever time they get up. They meet somebody for working out, and they do their routines, and coaches that are waiting for them, and a certain process they have to go through. And if you ever read any books about coaches and professional teams, there's a process. Everything's a process. Everything's a time frame. Everything's a schedule. And if you aren't that scheduled now, you are going to struggle as an entrepreneur, because as an entrepreneur, you have to stay in routine. Okay, so get up, go for a walk, go to the gym, go take a yoga class, go do something, get your mind right, meditate, read, educate yourself, right? Your mindset and with alignment with your visualization and your affirmations and your gratitude. We do gratitude circles every single day here at our office, every single day at 8:45 in the morning. I can tell you what everything is on a time frame. At 8:45, we have a little bell rings. Everybody gathers in a circle in our company and talks about what they're grateful for. Sometimes, usually maybe once a week, we'll do affirmations within that group. Oh, that's always fun. But we have a process that we go through. You have to have total priorities of what you want your life to look like. Review one thing that matters today. Look at one thing that you want to get accomplished today. You don't have to do 40 things. What is your main thing today? What is your main purpose today? What is on your plate today that absolutely has to get taken care of today? Go to the office and get it taken care of. Don't distract yourself. Don't put it off. Just get it done. Something I would love to just recommend that you do, and I said it earlier, check your emails, and I do that. But be very careful you don't spend too much time in your emails or in social media before starting any of your day, because sometimes that can really throw you off mentally. I do check my emails in the morning. It's not always the most positive thing, but stay off social media because it will derail you. If you want to do social media at night when your brain is numb and you've gotten all your work done, because that's what it is. It's numbing stuff that's on there, right? How you're watching how everyone else lives their life while you're sitting there and I got a numb brain and you can't get things accomplished in your day because we're too busy looking at social media as our emails and watching the news. And, it's like, okay, I don't really love watching how other people live their life because it's probably not true anyway. Right? Nobody actually puts real problems on social media. They only put fake joy things on social media. So you can play that as you want, but I can tell you, if you're a social media junkie and you're doing it in the morning, good luck, because there's a lot of challenges that I have met with people that have that in their life and they have a hard time getting their businesses off the ground. What we need to look at as we continue to keep moving forward on positive thinking and preventing burnout is we have to focus on getting deep work done, right? We talked about it just a second ago about getting one thing accomplished, right? Our deep work, our main work, our focused work. I want you guys to think about this. There's 3 or 4 things, maybe 5 things in your day, every single day that have to be done. But why does it take us all day to do it? So here's the thing. How do we allow ourselves to stay fully focused out of somewhat distractions, right? Keeping a distraction-free world and focusing on everything that we have as a competitive advantage. So having a competitive advantage means how can you close your door, put a sign up, do not bother me, I do not have an open door policy between here and here, and go deep, hard in the work where real progress is made, where real things happen, where you're taking leaps and bounds, free of interruptions, and stopping your multitasking. Like, it's really interesting, and I do this a lot, where I'll be talking on the phone, I'll be doing something, and I'm checking my emails, and I'm multitasking, and it drives me crazy I do that. And so this is an issue, which is why I wrote this in here. This is an issue where when I shut it all down, and it's something we have to keep telling ourselves, right? It's been a bad habit I've had, but it's like, just stop. All of that stuff's not important. Just get your stuff done and make a time for checking the emails. Make a time for doing those other things, but be totally focused on what you have to do at hand and stop multitasking. I love people who are like, oh, I'm a great multitasker. I'm not impressed, because what happens is we're very distracted. I think we get more quality work done and we make the biggest impact when we're present on what it is we have to get accomplished. One of the things that I think, and just to add to like some of these like systems and processes that we work through, right? We talk a little bit about keeping everything kind of in order and not get too crazy. Don't get too linear, but get more vertical, right? Focusing on tools and smart things in our company, and don't get too overwhelmed with all of the different things that are out there. As my mentor always says, be very cautious with all the shiny objects. You have to eliminate all of those distractions. And especially if you're an entrepreneur, everybody wants to try to do business with you. I can tell you, in the world I live in, my email and my phone rings constantly with people that are trying to do business with our company. And you have to listen to some things, but you have to also block time for those things. I've learned that recently, that I've just blocked an hour of my day out of my work day, just 1 hour where I put those people in that block time. So I want to encourage you to not allow all of that to penetrate the good work we're talking about, the focused work, and allow yourself to block that time for a specific hour. So if you took, for example, if you're going from 8 to noon and you have all these great things that you want to work on, you get all your work done by noon, and then allow your afternoon from 1 to 2 or 3 to 5 or whatever it might be, allow that for other types of business. So don't allow it to be just open. Don't let anybody just penetrate your schedule. Mind block it, meaning say, I am just not available, and just put it in your brain, make it a system. It says, I will talk to you. I talk to everybody between 1 and 2 o'clock that wants to try to sell me something. And I don't know what that means for you, but that means something to you. Meaning, are you a person that just accepts everybody to just penetrate your schedule? We're talking about burnout here, right? How to prevent burnout. Stop doing that. One task at this time, another task at this time, another task at this time, and then it's an open playing field over here in the afternoon where you can allow new ideas to come into your company. New ideas will never penetrate my business between 8 and noon. I won't allow anybody to talk to me about new business between 8 and noon. Between 8 and noon is my current business. And then I have a 1 o'clock to 2 o'clock, certain kind of business. 2 o'clock to 3 o'clock, certain kind of business. Don't try to keep learning more from people. Just go deeper on what it is that you do now. Keep focusing on the things that work now, and then just block opportunities for people to share things with you. We must always understand that running and operating a business should look like it's a vertical climb, not a horizontal. And what I mean by that is you're vertically lifting the company up. And this is going to make sense as we go on. You're not looking for a wider platform. That actually causes confusion because you keep adding things. Remember, we just talked about like people trying to sell you things, right? Companies trying to reach out to you and go, hey, do you want to buy this? And you want to be involved with this? I got this great software, and I got this. And by the way, this is the newest, greatest thing. And here's a new AI tool. And here's a new platform, a new CRM. Here's a new marketing technique. Here's a new PPC campaign. And it's like overwhelming. And so what happens is we hear all of these things and we feel like, man, these are really great ideas. Man, I could see where this would really help my business grow. And yet the last 3 things you bought that you're paying for, you still haven't gotten those off the ground. And so what I'm asking you to do is don't cast a wide net. Go vertical. Stay focused on the things that matter the most. Don't allow yourself to get caught in the trap of what everybody's trying to sell you. Because I can tell you this, what I'm learning, and I'm still learning this lesson, is that everybody's got probably something that works really well. I don't say that any of these things probably don't work, because they probably all do. But a shiny object shows up every day. We don't have to bite on it because we haven't even perfected the last shiny object that we said yes to. Just something to think about and something to consider, because I think a lot of people that I know get involved with the shiny objects, including yours truly. And that has to stop, because you got $1 million idea already sitting in your platform and you're too busy looking at what somebody else has to offer. Because everybody's telling us, hey, listen, the world's moving really fast. Hey, we need to keep trying new things. We need to keep doing new things. And there's probably a little truth to all of that, but you might have $1 million or $1 billion idea already there. You're just not focused on educating yourself on how you can utilize that within your company. So keep that in mind. That'll burn you out faster, I can tell you, than almost anything. It's just continuing people trying to sell you something, and you're always learning and talking to people and going, that sounds really great. It gets really expensive, and then you don't ever utilize it to its highest level. So we need to be very cautious about that, because it's common that it happens. A business should look like it's vertical, not horizontal. The wider the platform, the more difficult it gets, and try to keep it as simple as possible. Work on having less systems and go and learn to get a little deeper and go heavier on each system to try to maximize everything you can get out of it. Time management is for high-performing leaders. I'm going to say this again. You want to see people who have succeeded at a high level in entrepreneurship, somebody that you look at and go, wow, I mean, it's amazing what they were able to accomplish. They were able to manage their time usually better than most people. Most leaders, most entrepreneurs learn through the process that distracting themselves from all the shiny objects, focusing in on the time that they're working, getting the most out of everything they have is actually what causes them to be successful. When we first started entrepreneurship, we're all over the place because we're learning. When you have an entrepreneur who is successful, they've mastered these skills. And so this is the part where we look at it and go, well, you know, I get what you're saying, but it's hard. And I get what you're saying because I understand. But in the end game, if you don't figure it out, you can't get the most out of your company. And more importantly, we can't get the most out of you. And if you continue to keep allowing yourself to be distracted by all the small little shiny objects, then what happens is burnout's going to happen. And when burnout happens, your business is done. So remember, do not allow this to happen to you in your business. Time is your most limited resource. Always remember that. Manage your time and prioritize with the intention and energy and alignment that your company deserves. And you'll find that you're going to have a lot of time in your life and a lot of quality time with your family. Don't allow that to distract you, because it's worth it for your family, it's worth it for your business, and it's worth it for your personal relationships. So don't allow that to put you in a position where everyone else is controlling your time. You need to control your time. And as we master all of this, there's something that we should all consider. The 80-20 rule. 20% of your tasks produce 80% of your results. Identify and focus on them. Focus on the 20% that produce 80% of all of the activity in your company. I'm going to say this to you. You're doing 100% of everything that you do, but only 20% of that work that you do produces 80% of the entire production that you're trying to get out of it. So how do you find that 20%? That's the question. How do you find that 20% so you can maximize your time and your effort, and that you can focus on those things? And as we focus on this 80-20 kind of idea, and we're talking about our calendars, if we don't put it on our calendars, then it doesn't exist. Only do the things, time block. Remember this, high performers always say to themselves, if it's not on my calendar, it doesn't exist. If it's not on my calendar, it doesn't exist. If anybody asks me a question about anything, I always look at my calendar and say, do I have an open spot? Because if it's not there, I don't do it, right? Whatever my time is, I don't do it. So I always try to plan things ahead. So I don't try to add things in for today. I might add things in for next week. Whatever's on my calendar today and this week pretty much stays there. But I can schedule some open block time a week from now. And that way it gives me clarity on what it is I'm looking at. So when I'm looking at my calendar for the week, I can see everything that I have. Don't just say, yeah, why don't you jump in here? And yeah, let's do this. And yeah, let's do that. I mean, my phone rings all day long with people, and even business professionals that want to talk. I don't have time to do that during my day. My phone rings like all day with friends and coworkers. And I say coworkers, but maybe mastermind people and people who I really respect, I don't pick up my phone because it's not in my schedule to pick up my phone. And so if you ever call me and you're watching this video and I don't pick up my phone, now you know why, because it's not in my calendar. Now I do have a callback time, and I have a callback time for clients, and I have a callback time for business opportunities, and I have a callback time for conversations with friends. And they're all different. We must always remember in this process that burnout is not a badge of honor. It's actually a breakdown in systems. And so if we're feeling burned out, it's just that you haven't planned right. I want you guys to understand, burnout doesn't happen because you're overworked. Burnout happens because your systems, or lack of, have broken down. So the question is, if your systems have broken down, then get them cleaned up. And if you don't have a system, make one. Put it in your calendar, right? You got to have your calendar and set everything up as a routine. Leaders don't happenstance anything. They don't go, oh, well, I'll just go do this today. It's really funny because I of course, I get to work with a lot of people. If I'm going to lunch with somebody, it's in my calendar. It's already been there for a week. If I'm going to go drive somewhere and go do something, it's in my calendar. Nothing is by accident. Nothing changes. If something changes, then I have to have it change, but I don't let those things penetrate us. If you don't let it penetrate you, you can get a lot of things done. So guys, listen, I know we've talked a lot today. We've gone through a lot of things. And being an entrepreneur is not easy. It's actually difficult. But the difficult about being an entrepreneur is usually not the business. It's usually us. It's usually in how we behave. It's the lack of systems, the lack of commitment, the lack of business planning, the wrong attitude, the wrong approach, the lack of finding the right people to help us. And so here's the question I have for you guys today. Being successful as an entrepreneur is not that hard. The hardest thing about being an entrepreneur is not the business itself, but it's what goes on inside of our head. And I mean that honestly. If you want to have a very successful business, I don't even care what it is. And you guys might go, well, Bernie, you don't even know my business. And that's fine. I don't really care, to be honest with you. I will say this to you. If you want to have a really successful business, you got to work on you. You are the problem in your business, not your business. And I can tell you that I've met a lot of people that have had businesses, and I hear a lot of stories, and I hear them tell me why it's not successful. And the whole time in my head, I'm just going, it's funny that you're telling me all of this, and the only one that believes it is you. And so if you want to become successful in your business, and I know it's not easy to change you, but ask yourself this question: could it be the business is easy, but I'm complicating it? Could it be that this business is easier, I'm just not in alignment with what has to happen? Is it possible that this business could be such a great opportunity for you and your family, and yet you're not fully dedicated to whatever it takes to get it done? Guys, I want to say thank you for spending some time with me today. I know this was a little bit longer video, but I wanted to say thank you. I appreciate you as entrepreneurs. And remember, success is never convenient. It never finds you. You have to find it, and then it moves that quickly. Once you grab it, it's gone. So it's a constant searching for a level of success. I wish you guys all the best of luck.